Time now to bring in the Giants radio play-by-play voice, Bob Papa. He is in Fayetteville, Arkansas for Golf Channel, covering the NCAA men's golf tournament. And Bob, thanks so much for your time. Obviously, you spent a lot of your work around the Giants. Your thoughts here during the offseason as OTAs continue. What's the biggest storyline for you?
Well, the biggest storyline for me is the fact that the Giants have addressed their offensive line. Now, it's not as if they hadn't tried to address it in years past. It's just they picked the wrong players. They spent 2 first-round draft picks on offensive linemen and a second-round draft pick, and it didn't pan out. They have rebuilt this offensive line, and as we saw last season, when Eli Manning gets protection, he could still put up some pretty good numbers. And obviously, that's going to be the key component for the Giants this season. Keep him upright, get a running game going. They might be able to score a decent amount of points this year.
So those are pieces that we've seen being put in place, Bob. When you look at Coach Shermer going into year 2, what are you seeing there in terms of his growth as a coach?
Well, you know, he's got a firm grip on what's going on. I mean, I know his press conferences are kind of laid back, and he's a little bit on the mellow side, and he's not one to flip a lot of jokes around, but he's got a lot of control within that locker room. And he believes in a certain way of playing football and in the team concept. And I know last year down the stretch, Odell Beckham Jr. had that quad injury and wasn't able to play. But he was excited to see what other guys could do when they had an opportunity. And, you know, his belief is it doesn't matter who's getting the ball or who's getting the glory as long as we're scoring. And that means that the quarterback's being protected, spread it around, not force the ball anywhere. That's the way he wants to play offensively. And I think that's what they've kind of assembled with this group that they have now.
Bob, you mentioned the offensive line, obviously the quarterback situation, Eli Manning, and then the 6th overall pick, Daniel Jones. That's obviously been one of the headlines and will continue to be. What's your take on how you think this is all going to play out?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I mean, you know, we did the draft show live on MSG, and I was shocked when the Giants took Daniel Jones with the 6th overall pick. Listen, I don't study it like NFL coaches do. Not that they took Daniel Jones. I thought they would take a defensive player because, you know, we've heard about the fact that they really believe in Eli Manning. And I think in a perfect world for them, Daniel Jones doesn't play this year. Eli Manning has a really good year. They score a bunch of points, and they have a winning record, and they have a shot to get into the postseason. Because when you look at Eli last year, I mean, he still made a lot of incredible throws. And he had his highest completion percentage, his highest quarterback rating that he's had in his career with virtually no protection. I mean, it was a sieve in the first half of the year. So I think that, you know, when you look at this situation, is it going to be a repeat of 2004? Remember, history does repeat itself. Kurt Warner was the starter. Eli was the rookie. The Giants were 5-3, then 5-4. They sustained a lot of injuries in that game in which they lost their 4th game. And they bit the bullet and they turned the page and they moved to Eli Manning. I think if they've got a winning season going, they'll be much more hesitant to make that switch if they think they can get into the postseason.
So far, though, Bob, as we talk about Daniel, Coach seems to be pleased with his progress. In terms of what you're hearing, the dynamic between he and Eli, I understand that maybe Eli's not truly a mentor in the sense that that's his job. He's also competing for time as well. But what's the dynamic of that relationship? Have you noted anything?
No, listen, Eli Manning has always been a mentor, and I know he's commented on this. Ever since they've been drafting young quarterbacks over the years, I mean, he welcomes everybody in. He sits down in the cafeteria, has breakfast with the guys, goes into the film session. It's incumbent upon Daniel Jones and to be the guy that becomes the sponge, to ask the questions. And Eli is going to give the answers. He's not going to withhold any information because you want your entire team to be strong. And one of the things about Daniel Jones that makes him a great fit is he's like a young Eli Manning. He wants to learn. He's going to ask questions. He's a very cerebral football player. So I don't think there's going to be any issues with that. It's not like Eli's going to roll over, though, and hand the kid his job. That's not going to happen. But he's not going to withhold anything or try to make the kid look bad or do anything to not help this kid be better. He's going to be as giving as he's always been, and that's been very giving over his career.
Bob, of course, the Giants traded Odell Beckham. I want you to listen in to what Eli has to say about what it's going to be like without Odell Beckham.
Everybody's got to do their job, and so it doesn't change. You know, we've last 2 years we played a decent number of games without him, and into last year played last 4 or 5 games without him. We were able to score points and do well, and so we just got a lot of playmakers still, and everybody's just got to do their job, make plays, win the one-on-one matchups, and we'll be fine.
So Bob, you just heard Eli. How do the Giants compensate without Odell Beckham?
Sort of the way they did, Bill, and we talked about this earlier. At the end of last year, I know Coach Shermer really loved the find the open guy sort of philosophy. Eli, if you're getting the protection that you need, go through your progressions. Throw the ball to the guy in your read progression. That's the open guy. And listen, they averaged 26 points a game last year in the 4 games that Odell Beckham Jr. didn't play, and that's including a game in which they got shut out. Now, I'm not saying that the Giant receiving core is better without Odell Beckham Jr., but offensively, as long as Evan Ingram can stay healthy and give the Giants a full season, they have a lot of other offensive weapons, and there's a lot of ways to attack teams. Odell is a game-changing kind of player. He's a unique player. He's a special player. But, the New England Patriots, they've done it with a receiving core that's made up of good, solid players, but not superstars. Obviously, Rob Gronkowski was, but Golden Tate is a smart, good run-after-the-catch guy. Sterling Shepard is tough and sturdy, will go over the middle, deal with the tough catches. Saquon out of the backfield is like another receiver. And then Evan Ingram is a guy that can really run the seam and run past a lot of safety. So they've got a lot of options and some of the young receivers that they like carrying over from last year.
Bob, you mentioned him, Saquon, the guy who torched all sorts of records last year. What are you guys expecting in terms of him jumping in year 2?
Well, I don't want to see him jumping over too many more people, because I think the injury rate, when you start jumping over people, the numbers go up. But as far as what they expect, all right, show me some more. Let me see the improvement. What he did last year was really awesome, and the way he handled himself was really fantastic. But, he's going to be a smarter player. There were things last year, despite his greatness, that he's going to take into this year and learn. And with a more stable offensive line, how to set up NFL defenders a little bit more, understanding on certain plays that, I'm going to get 4 here. 4 is good rather than losing 5. Those are all things that are going to help him. And then in the passing game, obviously, with pass protection, he did a good job last year, but he can get even better with that. I think you're going to just see a more rounded player who's extremely level-headed.
Hey, Bob, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for your time. Really nice to talk to you, and hopefully we'll talk to you as the summer progresses here.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Congratulations on the new show, and now keep your fingers crossed that no more tornadoes sweep through Arkansas.
For more great videos from the MSG 150, check out right there. And remember, our show is on Monday through Thursday, 8 to 10:30 p.m. on MSG Network and MSG Go.